Okay, so good afternoon, selamat sore to the speakers and also to all the audience. Welcome to our online info session series. My name is Octavia. I'm the moderator for today's info session. I'm working as the scholarship officer for Nuffic Neso Indonesia. Well, Nuffic Neso Indonesia is currently in collaboration with LPDP, is launching the OKP-LPDP StuNed Joint Scholarship Program. For those of you who are not familiar yet with the scholarship, it is basically a scholarship for Indonesian mid-career professionals to pursue their master degree in one of the Dutch higher education institutions. And as the name already indicates, it is a joint scholarship between OKP, the Orange Knowledge Program, which is funded by the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and also by the Indonesia Endowment Fund for Education, or LPDP. So in this session, we are going to hear presentations from two education study institutions that participate in our joint scholarship, which is the Institute for Housing and Urban Development Studies, or IHS, and also from the International Institute of Social Studies, or what we call as ISS. So I would like to invite Katicha Kis, who is the Marketing and Communications Officer from IHS, to deliver the presentation, and followed by Ms. Wieke Blau, who is the Senior Policy Officer from ISS. So if you have any questions to either Katicha or to Ms. Wieke, please feel free to type your questions in the chat column. We will have the Q&A session after all the presentation finished. So please, Katicha, you may start your presentations. The screen is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Yes. I hope everyone can see my screen. So hello, everyone. As Octavia introduced me, my name is Katicha, and I'm a Marketing and Communications Officer at IHS. IHS is an international research institute based at Erasmus University Rotterdam. On this picture, you can see our campus on a very sunny day that I think Wieke can confirm that it's a very rare thing in the Netherlands sometimes. So it is the picture is of our campus. Let's see, what are we going to cover today? We will first start with Going Dutch. I will tell you a bit about the Netherlands and Rotterdam in general, and also a bit about IHS. Then we will take a look at the education programs that we offer that are that qualify for the OKP-LPDP scholarship. Then we will go into practical matters such as admission requirements and costs. And I will finish the presentation with the student life at IHS and some alumni information. And the question and answer session will be after mine and ISS's presentation at the very end. So keep your questions in the chat box for the time being. So why go to Rotterdam and the Netherlands in general? I have to say that the Netherlands is a very open and friendly country. Being an expat is very easy. Me, myself, is also an expat in Rotterdam. It is a very small country, but it is very highly regarded in education. We have many universities in the top 100 and top 300 as well. So after finishing your studies, you can also stay in research, for example, stay in academia and continue your studies in a PhD, for example. On a more technical level, Rotterdam is also a very vibrant urban city. It has a post-industrial architecture because it was completely destroyed in the Second World War. So you can see a lot of high-rises in the background of this slide, for example. And it is also a hub for urban development. We have a lot of sustainable initiatives, for example, because of the past of the city. And also the campus itself just finished building a sustainable building with a lot of trees inside, for example, and it also works with the sun energy, as far as I know. Rotterdam is also a very international city. We have around 170 nationalities. Me being Hungarian is one of them, actually. So you will really feel like home in the city, I have to say. A bit about IHS. So IHS is based on 3 pillars: education, advisory, and research. Most of our professors are also full-time researchers as well, so you will learn about case studies and lecture materials from their own experiences, which comes very handy because with the advisory and research pillar that we have, we always include practical solutions and workable strategies in our education, so you will learn based on real-life cases, and you can also take part in research projects alongside academics. About our education programs, so I will mostly cover the urban management and development master program that we have, but just for you, so you know, we also have a PhD and other short courses that might be interesting for you later at a later stage. Let's take a look at the master program in urban management and development. So this master program is a 12-month long master program with 4 trending master tracks. Only 3 of them are eligible for the OKP-LPDP scholarship, so I will talk more about them. This master program really prepares you for the job market with job market skills, and also you will hear guest lectures while you're here. We have a big network of urban professionals who come to IHS and give presentations. They're actually happening these months for the current students. So far we had climate change experts, urban planners giving guest lectures to the students, and so far it is going really well. Let's take a look at the programs, as I mentioned. So the Urban Management and Development Master Program has 3 master tracks that are eligible for the scholarship. One of them is the Urban Digital Transformation and Innovation Master Track. So this master track is mostly focusing on how digital innovation and transformation affects urban development and governance. So you will look at how using big data, for example, or the Internet of Things to manage energy consumption is actually reshaping the city, and how the government can deal with such a digital, such an innovation in urban management. The course constitutes of 2 parts. The first part is focusing on how to govern digital innovation. It also looks at digital technology, ethics, for example, and what the role of digital innovation is in inequalities, creating inequalities and reducing inequalities. The second part of the program, you can choose to specialize further based on your own interest. So we have 2 different focuses. One is algorithmic governance and the other is economic development. So the economic development focus is mostly focusing on labor market and entrepreneurship, for example, agglomeration economics. And the algorithmic governance focus is looking at how more traditional governments can deal with the digital transformation that is happening in cities at the moment, such as the digital infrastructure. So by the end of the course, you will be able to critically look at digital innovation and transformation in cities. The next master track I will be talking about is urban housing and land justice. So this master track is focusing on how to achieve equal housing, land, and urban rights to land, housing, and urban services. You will learn about land and housing justice in cities. You will also look at land economics and land-based finance, for example, affordable housing, or inclusive and gender responsive planning in human settlements. So this course also consists of another part where you can choose to develop further. We have 2 focuses here. One is land and the other is housing. At the land,
Khadija, I think your voice is broken for a while.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
Should I restart? Yeah, my connection is unstable. Sorry.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Yeah. So if you haven't heard, so this master track is focusing on equal right to urban housing and land, and it looks at affordable housing, the 5A principles of affordable housing, for example. It also looks at land value capture to achieve sustainable and equitable development in cities. So by the end, you will be able to evaluate different policy implementations regarding land, housing, and basic services in the urban field. And the last master track that I will cover is the Strategic Urban Planning and Policies master track. So this master track is looking at how people interact with spaces and how we can optimize cities in cooperation with all its stakeholders. It also looks at urban justice and how cities function in different scenarios, such as rapid urbanization, economic decline, for example. And it also gives you, and it also looks at implementing policies to enhance urban development. So by the end of this course, you will definitely gain stakeholder negotiation skills and also be able to analyze different policies and how they will affect urban spaces. So the graduates of this course are usually working as policy advisors or managers. Now let's take a look at how the year is organized. So the year starts in the beginning of September and ends in August, as you can see. We have 4 different blocks. The first block has 3 subjects, and it lasts from September until Christmas, so until December. We have these 3 courses, but you will look at the certain course from your own perspective. So if you are part of the urban digitalization and transformation master track, you will look at urban data, at urban sustainability from that angle. Then the block 2 and 3 is the specialization period. So that is from January until April, when you will only have courses regarding your specialization. You will also have an action planning week where you work together with your course mates to develop an actual action plan. And it ends with the thesis proposal period, when you have to hand it in order to start your thesis. And the thesis writing period starts at the end of April until August. And then at the end of August, we have the graduation ceremony. And hopefully everyone will graduate. A rough overview of the program. As I mentioned, it is a 12-month master program from September 2023 to August 2024. The tuition fee is 15,600. It is a flat rate, so all of our students has to pay the same regardless of their origin, their countries, for example. The deadlines, as you can see, we have 2 different deadlines. The early bird deadline is 16 April. That means that if you apply until 16 April and pay the tuition fee by 15 May, then you will get €1,000 off the tuition fee. And we also have the regular deadlines for non-European citizens. It's 1 June. And some admission requirements. So we require at least a bachelor degree from a recognized university, a field related to urban development. So these relevant fields depend on the master track that you're applying for. So these might be slightly different for the strategic urban planning, for example. We require a good academic performance. Also, an ability to interact and work with diverse cultures is very important, because we have around 100, 120 students every year, and they come from more than 50 countries. So it is going to be a very diverse environment that you will have to be able to work with. At the moment, we have 9 Indonesian students, actually, and 7 of them came with a scholarship, either OKP-LPDP or the normal LPDP. So we always have a nice group of Indonesian students every year. Another requirement is a proof of sufficient command of English. It is either an IELTS 6.5 or a TOEFL 90. And working experience is welcome, but it is not a mandatory requirement to join this master program. A bit about the student life. So how does it look like when you apply to IHS? We're happy to help you with the general program information, also information on housing, as it's currently a big challenge.
Khadija, I think your voice is just broken again. Can you please repeat your explanation? Khadija, can you hear us?
And student services, is it better now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Yeah. Okay, I will try to keep closer to the...
I think we just lost you again, Khadija.
Okay. Should I? Okay.
Can you please repeat your explanation about this slide?
Yes. So we're happy to help you with many different services. We're happy to help you with giving more information on our programs, also housing information, and it is quite challenging in the Netherlands at the moment. IHS also applies for your visa. So my colleagues from the Educational Management Office will apply for your visa, and you won't have to do that yourself. And once you're here, we also organize orientation days for the first few days of the program, where we help you settle in with opening a bank account, for example, or choosing a health insurance provider and such things. You can take a look at our campus as well. So this is one of the new buildings in the background that we have. This is a campus university. So we have a very big campus with all kinds of facilities. As you can see, we have a food court, we have restaurants, we also have sport facilities, a supermarket as well. And it's very close to the city center. It's only 50 minutes by bike. And a very important thing is having a bike as well in the Netherlands. I must say, it's very handy to go from the city center, to go from the campus to the city center in only just 15 minutes. A bit about our alumni. So on this map, you can see all the partners and all the alumni that we had in the past years. We mostly focus on the Global South, as you can see, and we are also, we are very active in these regions. We have around 10,000 alumni in more than 140 cities, 40 countries. So it is a very busy community. And what our graduates do after graduating from IHS, as you can see, a big part is working in public sector afterwards. Some of them also stay in academia and choose to pursue a PhD, for example. We also have some private people working in private companies or international NGOs, for example. I must say that most of our students who stay in the Netherlands, they do end up in international organizations. And the big percentage for the public sector is mostly from our general OKP students who already work in the public sector, and then they go back to their home country and continue working in this sector. So hence the big percentages of these. And how to get in touch with us to finish up the presentation. If you have any questions regarding the admission requirements or just inquiries about any of our programs, you can reach out to us via these two emails. We're always very happy to hear from you, and we're happy to help you with any questions. If you want to know more about the specific programs, just visit our website at www.ihs.nl. And yeah, we're happy to hear from you anytime. You can also follow us on social media. We have a LinkedIn account, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and also a YouTube channel where we sometimes post webinars that we had in the past. And yeah, just follow us to see how our current students are doing. And thank you for your time. And I hope that you heard at least a part of my presentation well. I'm sorry for the internet. It's not doing great lately. Thank you.
Thank you, Khadija. Well, if I may recap your presentation just now. So basically at IHS, you have 4 specializations that the students can choose under the master program. And also each I would say each specialization come with a different focus and also a different outcome for basically the students. And it's a one-year program which consists of 4 blocks, right? Okay,
Yes.
I think before we start the Q&A, we still have one more presentation. So I would like to welcome Ms. Wieke Blauw from ISS. Please, Ms. Wieke, you can start your presentation.
Thank you, Octavia. And so let me share my screen. So thank you for the introduction, Octavia. And like Khadija presented a nice picture with a clear blue sky, we've got the same type of picture with a clear blue sky. And at the moment, it's quite white outside here. But we do have blue skies as well. And what you're seeing here is the ISS building based in the center of The Hague. This is the place where all our teaching takes place, and most of the student housing is just around the corner of the ISS building. So let me start with a brief presentation about ISS. You just saw a very nice video made by current Indonesian students at ISS who explained a lot already about ISS. So ISS is part of Erasmus University Rotterdam, but is based in Den Haag. And that has to do with the history of the institute. We were founded in 1952 as an independent institute. And in 2009, we joined the Erasmus University, but we remained based in the city of Den Haag, and which is 20 minutes by train from the city of Rotterdam. So ISS is a postgraduate school in social science, meaning that we are not offering bachelor programs. We only have a PhD program and master programs. And the ISS is a very international staff and student community. If I look at our staff, around 60% of our staff is non-Dutch, so they're coming from all over the world. And of course, the students community is also very international. We'll get back to that later. So we have a PhD program with 150 PhD researchers in the program. So it's quite a large program in the institute. And we have a master in development studies, for which we are now giving this presentation with each year around 150 students. And then the third program that we have on offer is a joint master program in public policy, which is a smaller group of students that we are offering with 3 other universities in Europe. So let me explain a bit more about the MA in Development Studies. It's a 15 to 16 months program starting in September and lasting till the year afterwards in December. This means that there's an overlap of 2 student bodies in the ISS, and that is really a nice opportunity to get a nice introduction to the city of Den Haag, and also to the ISS of the previous batch of students, and a year later for you the opportunity to introduce the new students to the ISS. In my presentation, I will focus on the majors that we are offering and that are shortlisted for the OKP-LPDP scholarship programs, which are 4 majors out of the 6 that we have on offer. It's one on agrarian, food and environmental studies, a major on economics of development, one on governance and development policies, and one on social policy for development. But let me first focus more on the key features of the MA program. So we have a very international student body, and on the world map you can see where our students are coming from. The largest group is from Asia, with around 50 to 20 students each year from Indonesia. At the moment, the group from India is the largest group at ISS, but previous years it was the Indonesian group of students. So that's nice to know. But it's a very international student population that we have, both in terms, it's a very multicultural student population that we have. But also there's also a huge variety and diversity in the background of our students. So in general, we attract students from all over the world and from different sectors. So we have a small group of recent graduates that are studying each year at ISS, meaning they graduated 1 or 2 years ago, or fresh graduates. About 1/3 of our students are government officials working in ministries or at local government or as community development officers. And we also have quite a substantial group who are working as researchers in research institutes, or as a journalist, or as consultants in the private sector, or lecturers at universities, also quite a few. And we have quite a substantial group working in civil society, including international and national NGOs, community-based organizations and trade unions. So this is a very huge variety in the background of our students, and we really have a teaching method that builds upon the rich experience of all the students that are in the classes. So we have participative lectures with many tutorials, working in group and having discussions among each other. You will see that we have easily approachable staff, so there's a lot of interaction between staff and students, and there's a lot of space to work on your own field of interest in the assessments and the assignments that you get. Also within the majors, which form the family group that you're part of in the MA in Development Studies, you will see that we organize study visits and social activities as well. So let me now give an introduction to the 4 majors that we have on offer. And the major Agrarian, Food and Environmental Studies is focusing on the rural areas and agriculture, but it's not an agriculture study program. For those programs, you have to go to Wageningen University. So it's a social science perspective on rural areas and agriculture, with questions like, can we feed the world and achieve economic development while conserving ecosystems and improving the livelihoods of peasants and rural poor? And how do we understand and tackle interlinked agrarian and environmental crises? How are we dealing with climate change and global warming? But also, what types of policies create sustainable development that guarantees justice, equality and autonomy for poor and marginalized communities? So it's really about a social science perspective on agriculture, on rural areas, and also on environmental planning and climate change and food security, of course. The second major is focusing on economics of development, and this major links macroeconomic issues with the underlying microeconomic processes. It's about what's the impact of international and domestic economic on growth, poverty, and income distribution, and how is growth, economic growth, linked to human development. The approach to teaching in the ECD major has a theoretic perspective, but also relates to policy. So in a way, there are 2 tracks within economics of development. There are a group of students and staff who are really focusing on econometrics and analyzing existing policies and the impact of policy on various groups in society. And there's also a group that is more focusing on economic structures, macroeconomic developments, the relation of your country with in a globalized world. And then the governance and development policy. There we have most of the students who are coming from the government sector, either at ministries of planning, other ministries working in regional or local government organizations. So it's also focusing on governance processes at local and national level. And it addresses the processes and problems of governance, policy, and local economic development, and how these work out in the everyday realities of people, with a bias towards the poor and vulnerable groups of people. There's also a lot of attention for the informal sector and the role that the informal economy plays in the life of people. So it looks at the role of actors in democracy and public-private community partnerships, and the need for capacity and adequate planning systems. So the last major that is available for funding from through the OKP-LPDP scholarship program is focusing on social policy for development, focusing on poverty, inequality, and social exclusion. So this major offers an interdisciplinary critical approach to the analysis of the problems of social reproduction and societal responses to social needs. This major addresses issues like persistent poverty, rising inequalities, exclusion and discrimination, high levels of unemployment, and insecure informal employment, gender gaps, and child labor, but also on the position of refugees, illegal migrants, and discriminated ethnic minorities in society. So this major also has a very strong women and gender component, and a very strong component focusing on children and youth in relation to development questions. So this was very short, briefly about the 4 majors that are on offer for this scholarship program. There are 2 more majors, and you can find more information about those also on our website. And I would like to urge you to visit our website to find out more about these 4 majors. If you click through to the specific pages, you will find a webinar by one of the staff members and a couple of students in the major, and also an introduction video to the major. So I think that's very interesting to look at. So this is about the content of the program. So let me now focus on the social component, living in the Netherlands. So, well, this is a very typical Dutch scenery, as you can see. And this is taken during a field visit of the student group. So when you're coming to the ISS, you start with the introduction program. And the first step is a pickup service at the airport. Like I just mentioned before, there's an overlap of two batches of students, as we call it. And what we see is that the old batch of students is going to the airport to pick up the new batch of students, mainly from the same country. So in the introduction program, you get also an introduction to living in the city of Den Haag, The Hague, about intercultural communication, to how are people from different regions of the world communicating with each other, how to deal with the Dutch people, also quite a challenge sometimes, and an introduction to staff and students. So about student life, various activities are organized for our students by staff and by students as well. We have International Sports Day, we have various study trips. Here you see the typical Dutch wooden shoes where there was a trip to. There is a student organization which is called Scholas, and they have various groups that are also organizing all type of debates, discussions, and also trips. So let me mention one more thing, which is housing, which is quite a critical point in the Netherlands, as you might know. But I'm happy to let you know that ISS has its own housing facilities. So we guarantee housing for those people who would like to stay in the ISS hostel. If you are indicating in time that you would be interested to be in one of the ISS housing. There's spacious rooms with basic furniture being there, with private bathrooms, and you will have a shared kitchen with around 8 other students. Most of our students choose to live in the student housing around the corner, but we also have students who choose to find a place themselves. So that's up to you to decide. So this was a very brief introduction to the ISS, to the program. There's a lot of information on our website, more practical information as well about the admission requirements, about the application procedure. There are interesting testimonials of students on the website, nice videos to watch. So I would really like to urge you to visit our website, but also to join us on social media. We have a special prospective students group on Facebook, where also current students are participating, so you can ask all the questions that you might have there as well. So now I came to the end of this very brief presentation, and I'll be happy to take any questions. So I hand over back to Octavia.
Thank you, Wieke, for a very nice presentation. It's very nice to hear that from your presentation that basically every student that will be going to ISS is guaranteed housing. It's close to ISS. Well, yeah, we all know that it's quite difficult currently to find accommodations in the Netherlands at this moment. So I can also learn from your presentations that ISS has 6 different tracks of the master program. But for the joint scholarship, if you're interested to join the joint scholarship program between OKP and LPDP, you can choose 4 majors, which has been explained by Ms. Wieke in her presentations. So I think we can start the Q&A session now. We already have some questions in the box. I think the first one will be to Katice. from Richard regarding the IELTS requirement of 6.5. Is it only apply to the overall score 6.5, or for each band you also have a minimum band requirement?
So the average band has to be 6.5 and the lowest must be at least 6. So we don't need 6.5 for each, but 6 at least for the lowest one.
Okay, so basically 6.5 overall with 6 for each band. And I do understand that for IELTS or TOEFL, you need to take the test 2 years. I mean, there's a validity. They can only take the score 2 years before, right?
Yes, if I'm correct, it's 3 years prior to start of the course. So if we start in September 2023, then the latest you can have the IELTS is 2020 September. So 3 years before the course starts. Yes.
Okay, it's very nice to know. And so how about for ISS in terms of the English language requirement? Can you tell more to the audience, Ms. Wieke?
Yes, we also ask for an IELTS level of 6.5. We don't have a minimum score for one of the different elements. And indeed, I think it states on the test for how long it is valid. So we follow those rules, and most of them are 2 or 3 years valid. Yes, that's right.
Okay, so I think audience might also wonder what happened if they don't have the English test yet. They already graduated, they have working experience. Can they just submit the applications without submitting the IELTS first? And what happened to the applications?
Yes, people can apply without an English language test, and we take those applications into consideration, and we inform you whether you are accepted to the program or not. So that can be done without the IELTS test or another test, and you can submit those later. But to apply for the scholarship program, you have to provide the test in advance. So there is some time, and if you're waiting for your test to take place or for the results, I would advise you to apply as soon as possible to the ISS program and to upload the test results later on.
Yes, it is the same for IHS as well. So if you don't have the English language test, we can give you a conditional admission and you can hand it in later. But as far as I know, for the OKP-LPDP scholarship, you need an unconditional admission letter, Octavia, if I'm correct.
Yeah, so I think I would add to what both of you have mentioned. It is indeed that the joint scholarship will need unconditional letter of offer to be eligible. But of course, for some people, they might not be ready with the English test yet. So if they submit conditional offer in their application, but later on, before the deadline, if the offer is still conditional, but they can submit to us proof that they already meet the IELTS or TOEFL, then we consider that the application is eligible for the joint scholarship. So I think all of us agree that you need to submit the applications to the university as soon as possible, and also to take the English language test as soon as you can. Yeah. So I think I also have questions for both of you, because I know that from your presentation you have different majors or different tracks, right? So must students be able to choose the tracks from the very beginning when they submit the application, or they can just submit application general and then decide the major or the track later on in the applications? Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, so for IHS, you have to apply for the specific master track because each of the master track has a slightly different admission requirement, for example, relevant academic background. So your background might be fully eligible for one of the master tracks, but not the other. So that is why you need to apply for the specific master track and stick to that, hopefully, throughout the year.
Okay.
Yeah,
so...
The same applies to ISS. So when you are applying to the program, you have to select one of the 6 majors that we have on offer and go through that application process. They have also a different selection board, and you have to also write your motivation for that specific major.
Okay, so noted that the applicants must already have in mind what they want to study. They need to decide like which specializations they want to take, because like the institution will do the assessment based on the transcript and everything. Yeah, to basically determine whether you get LOA, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe I can add one point, but because I can imagine that there are people who are in doubt whether they choose this one or the other one. And it's maybe nice to know that part of the program is the same for everyone, because you are getting the 1 MA in development studies, but you also have quite some optional courses, and you also have some flexibility in the final thesis or research paper, as we call it at ISS. So you can attune the program to your own fields of interest. So I would suggest then to select the major that is the most attractive to you. And then when you are in ISS, you can select the optional courses that are a bit more in the direction of the other majors to attune it to your own field of interest.
Okay.
Yes, that also qualifies for IHS, actually. So the beginning of the course, the core period that we start with is the same for everyone. And then we go into the specialization period that is specific. But we had cases that some people were more interested in other things, and they tailored their thesis to a bit of a different topic. So it's also quite flexible for us.
Okay. Thank you. I have one question from the audience from Christian Gerald. I think I would answer the questions. So basically he asking about whether it is possible to apply for, I think what he means is the joint scholarship, the OKP-LPDP, while also applying for the general LPDP scholarship. The answer is no, unfortunately, it's not possible. So you need to decide which like the scholarship scheme that you want to apply. And it's also the same with the OKP-LPDP scholarship. You have like the list of the institutions that you want to study, and also the study programs. So you need to be sure like which university and also which study program that you want to apply for the scholarship, because we will assess your application based on the response that you submitted in your applications. So is there any questions from the audience to ISS or to IHS? You can ask anything while Ms. Vika and also Katicha is here. Okay, so while we are waiting for, maybe some more questions from the audience, I don't know, can you share, because I know that like most of the people will be those who already have some working experience before they apply to ISS and also IHS. So what happens if, for example, a fresh graduate, but it's very, with very good academic background, a very related study program, they want to, they want to be admitted to your institution. Do they still have a chance to be admitted? And what should they do to increase the possibility that they will get accepted at your institution?
Yeah, I can talk. Oh, sorry, we can go on. We can. Thank you. For IHS, yeah, having a working experience is not a requirement. It's always nice to have, but we actually have more and more fresh graduates every year. So we put equal attention to having a strong motivational letter, for example, with academic background. So all these together constitute a good application, and a working experience is just one of these assets, but it's not the most important one, I would say.
Okay, that's good to know. And how about for ISS? Is it the same as well?
Well, I think it becomes more and more clear to everyone that IHS and ISS are two sister organizations being part of the same university and having more or less the same conditions and requirements. Because for ISS, it's the same. We get more and more fresh graduate students, and that's an interesting addition to the student body, I think, because their knowledge is fresh and they have more insights in the most recent literature and insights. So that makes the discussion also interesting. So we do accept students who are fresh graduates, and then indeed we pay more attention to their motivation statement and to the reference letters that they submit for the application.
Okay, so the key is for the fresh graduate, you can still have a chance to be admitted. You need to write a very good motivation statement. If you have reference letter, it's good, also can be considered. Okay, so I see that there is one question from the audience. I think it's for Ms. Wieke. Arif from Arif, he's asking about any specializations in public policy and management in ISS.
Yes, we have a specialization in public policy and management within the major governance, democratization policy, GDP program. So it's one of the specializations related to that major. If you check on the website, you will find more information on this specialization within the major.
Okay, any other questions from the audience? If you are still confused or not sure about what kind of specialization that is more suitable to your profile, you can ask Wieke and also Khadija here. Or if you want to know more about the requirement for those institutions, like for example, you want to ask about IELTS, TOEFL, anything basically you can ask. Okay. We are still waiting for the questions. I think if I might ask for Ms. Wieke and also Khadija to, give us some tips on, preparing the best applications to get an LA, because basically I think if the audience wants to apply for the joint scholarship, one of the requirements is they need to get an unconditional LA. So what are your tips to make sure that their application be accepted?
Yeah, I think we have a selection committee, and they look at the total picture of the application. So they look at your academic background, the courses you took. We also accept people who do not have a direct degree in development studies or in social science. So we also have students who studied agriculture, and then we're looking at whether they had in their curriculum courses like rural development or socio-economic aspects of rural development, things like that. So it's important to look at that as well. And we also accept, for example, journalists who have a background in media studies. But if you have enough done enough courses or work or additional courses in social science, we do accept those people as well. So that's important to take into account. Then we also look very much at your work experience and the tasks that you had, and your motivation is also very important, combined with the reference letters, of course. So I think that's the most important part. What I would also like to stress is the OKP procedure, because that's more or less similar for people from other countries who can also apply to an OKP scholarship. And on our website, you will find a link to an explanation also by me on the procedure to apply for an OKP scholarship. And there is also a lot of information about employer statements and the various steps that you have to take and how to prepare a strong motivation for an OKP scholarship. So maybe I can also urge you to watch that webinar with a lot of information on the second step after you have been admitted to the ISS program.
Okay. How about...
Yes. I think for IHS is also quite similar. So we are always very happy to see applications from many different backgrounds. We are actually, we really want to make a very diverse master program with people from diverse backgrounds, diverse countries. So we had political science students, we had economists, we had urban planners, we had engineers even. So we have a very broad education background that might be relevant for the master track. I think it's also very important to have a strong motivational letter and to be specific for the master track that you're applying to. And they are also reviewed by the coordinators who will be teaching you in the future. So if you write a good motivation, they will definitely remember you in the future. As Vika said, I think getting admitted to IHS is the first step, and then more paperwork comes with the OKP-LPDP application. We also have a dedicated page for the OKP-LPDP where we describe all the steps that you have to take and all the necessary documents that you need for the application. And the same goes for applying to IHS. We have a list of steps that you have to take, documents, compulsory and non-compulsory documents as well. So take a look at our website and hopefully it will be very helpful.
Yeah, so I think like to add to what Ms. Wieke and also Khadija has shared, I already put in the chat section like where to have more information on the institutions. Like you have the email of IHS, you have the website address that you can go to. So basically, since I don't see any further questions, I think I would like to say thank you so much to Ms. Wieke and also Khadija for the very insightful presentations, like a lot of information that you shared to us, and hopefully like between the audience, like you will see like familiar faces from these presentations. So before I close the presentation, let me also share my email address and also the website of this joint scholarship in case you're interested to hear more about the OKP-LPDP StuNed Joint Scholarship Program. So I would like to say thank you everyone for attending our info session. I hope that this info session is helpful to prepare for your journey, for your postgraduate study, and hope to see you somewhere. Thank you. Bye-bye. All the best.
Thank you so much. Have a nice rest of the day. Bye.